Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dreamhack Open Grand Finals at Dreamhack Winter. We are getting through the first round of the losers bracket. Our next matchup is a PVZ. Who do we got coming up in control?
We have Goswser taking on sOs. This is going to be a tough match for Goswser. We had a rough go at it yesterday, playing some fantastic players, and for his efforts, he was rewarded arguably the best player on the frickin' planet right now.
Yeah, he's got quite a task up ahead of him, though, but I think he's a pretty smart guy. This is not one of those matches that we can really look at and clearly say that there's absolutely no humanly possible chance he could win, but it's not going to be easy by any means. And not to discount him, the last time that we counted somebody out at Dreamhack that was arguably at a very, very low chance of winning here, wasn't able to pull a miracle series. So
is that Stardust?
I think the last time we were in Yon Shopping.
Who? Oh,
Show. Yeah.
Oh,
so
Show against Life? Yeah, that was amazing.
So anything is possible, but
yeah.
sOs is definitely the favorite in this matchup.
Absolutely, but you do bring up a good point. Goswser is a smart Zerg player. He's a very creative Zerg player. He is not limited by, well, I have to... Oh, new lobby, okay. I'll remake that. He's not limited by, like, well, I have to just absolutely outplay sOs in a macro game. Goswser is one of those guys that does have some of those builds kind of built in the back of his head that he can dish out that are timing / all-in attacks that are not regular stuff. I know this because he's made me look silly numerous times personally.
Yeah, he's, we can see him here. He's the only American that we have competing in this tournament. So he spent a lot of time, though, in France and Team Millennium. Did some commentary for WCS America. But now he's back to just playing full-time, practicing full-time. I spoke to him a little bit before the tournament. Of course, he's, if he feels like he's outmatched, but this is an opportunity to, try to make something happen. Didn't really have the best results in his group. Came in last place. sOs, on the other hand, BlizzCon champion, second place at Red Bull Battlegrounds, still not able to take one of the first two spots in his group, but this is going to be, I think, still a matchup definitely favoring him.
Certainly, but to your point, Goswser is a bit like Batman right now. He does not fear death, and that makes him a very scary foe indeed. People are already discounting him. You can hear it in our own voices. I'm not gonna soften this up for people. We're doing that caster thing already. We're like, anything could happen. It's possible. Well, yes, it is possible.
Unicorns could come down from the ceiling as well in Control.
We're saying like the most generic, bland thing. Like it is possible. Okay, it's stacked against him. But what's kind of cool about that is that all he has to do is surprise everyone, including sOs and himself. I saw him talking in the lobby, and that means he can take all the crazy risks he wants. He can go as balls to the wall as he wants. In fact, I encourage it. I don't think he should try to just play a straight-up macro game against sOs. And if he does, the pressure's on sOs because this has happened before. As a competitor, I've been here. I'm sure you have as well, where it actually is really, it's kind of scary playing against someone that you 99% of the time should beat, because what if? What if that unicorn did fall off that ceiling? What if it did happen?
If he had anything saved up that he's ever thought was too ridiculous to use in a competitive game, now is the time to use that. And here he is, the American player in the northeast position of Frost from Team Millennium. It is Goswser. He's got a long road ahead of him against this gentleman in the southeast. The blue Protoss from Team Wunjin Stars. It is sOs.
And it's interesting, too, because a lot of times when there is a gigantic favorite in this kind of a matchup, they start to play super safe. They start to play very conservative. We're already seeing a little bit of that. Pylon first at the natural location, then a quick scout afterwards. This isn't like, this is not terrible that he's doing this, but it's not the risk of like a Nexus first or Gateway expands. Some of the things we've seen from the other Protoss players throughout the series, he wants to scout out early. So if this kind of thing repeats, then Goswser, again, can take advantage of that. Maybe he's the one that takes the mega risk, knowing that his opponent's going to play more conservative. And keep in mind, sOs has won the tournaments he has, not off the back of like super standard, very safe play, but rather he's a big risk taker. He's an offbeat player. In this matchup, I don't know that he necessarily wants to go to that because it does tend to have volatile results.
Yeah, and sOs isn't going to take any absurd chances. He's opening up with the Forge, but it's not so early that it's any type of aggression. Just wants to have it as a worst-case scenario. Still going to take a very quick Nexus, most likely before the Photon Cannon. And Goswser, I mean, he's opened up with a pretty economically timed spawning pool. Expect to see him try to plant this hatchery. The probe is here, trying to harass it as much as possible by delaying the hatchery. And since he did choose to open with the Forge, is there a chance he might even try to pylon block?
No, he really shouldn't. He saw the drone leave, and he has to imagine that drone doesn't just have somewhere else to be. It's probably dropping the hatchery at the third base location, which does mean that for a very, well, I mean, I say inexpensive, but honestly, the only cost to sOs is that he went Forge before Nexus, which is the only slight inconvenience. Otherwise, he's very happy to report that there's no need for a canceled pylon, and he's already displaced a hatchery. A nice opening for him.
Yeah, I have to agree. On Frost, the creep spread distance between the natural and the third hatchery that Goswser's kind of been forced into taking is pretty large. Getting spread there is going to be difficult. I don't know that sOs is going to try to bring that pressure before that creep becomes an issue.
He might do it now, by the way.
Being very, very annoying with this probe. This is incredibly frustrating to deal with as a Zerg player.
I was just going to say, he might pylon block now, and I love it. It's a little bit late, does lose the probe, but with just 2 Zerglings, pylon's going to buy him a good 20, 30 seconds more of blocked hatchery. Had the Zerglings been out on the map, which oftentimes those first 2 Zerglings are, this would have been a lot worse. This pylon would have gone down, the drone, excuse me, the probe would still be alive, and this natural would be blocked even longer.
Yeah. So here's my question to you as we start to get through this. The Cybernetics core is on the way. He has 2 assimilators in his main base. sOs against an opponent, like you said, doesn't know as much about, but is obviously heavily favored against. What's just the safest way to play out this macro? Does he go for the Stargate and try to scout? Does he bring another level of aggression and try to get a quick win?
You know, it's a great question, and I feel like we can speculate, and I will, because that's what we're paid to do, but ultimately it's up to sOs. He's going to kind of make the choice of, does he just continue to do exactly what he has done to get here, and that's timing attacks and aggressive 2-base openers followed by your 3rd or 4th Nexus. As we can see, it is going to be that Stargate. Protoss these days have been doing the Oracle, which lends itself a little bit to the question you asked. Is he going to try to be a little bit more timing attack oriented or safe? If he does go straight Phoenix, which is what we saw before that Oracle buff in the most recent patch, then that is our answer, that he is playing super conservative, because the Oracle can do great damage, but it could get shut down as well.
Yeah, it kind of just... It's kind of whatever sOs really wants to bring at this point, because he's already shown he really prefers... A lot of the Protoss players actually at this tournament showing that they heavily prefer the Stargate builds versus the Zerg players. And there is that Oracle, as you mentioned. Goswser droning up the 3rd base. His Overlord will be pushed back. Barely going to make it out, it seems. No, does catch it. The map can be deceiving at times, how it looks.
That was the last shot, that's for sure. I don't think it had enough room for another one, and unfortunately for Goswser, the bad luck already starts out. It spotted that gas has been taken at the natural, but that's not that big of a deal, I suppose. What it did not see is this really important Stargate in here, and we do see a Void Ray is going to follow up that Oracle, so no Phoenix today. Even a little bit of a supply block, sOs, getting a little bit sloppy Joe on our hands. But Goswser has not scouted out with this lower Overlord, so this Oracle is going to be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, and here it comes the Zealot here as well. The Queen can't even just focus on this. If he keeps the Oracle and the Zealot alive, I'm kind of surprised he didn't just focus it down, because the Zealot itself has no match now. And he's starting to press up. The drones are retreating. There is that other Queen there, and it should be able to hold on at least for a little bit, but he still has to deal with the Zealot harass. And there's the Void Ray follow-up. The Lair, the Zergling speed, not in time to really have a play on this. That Zealot's actually still harassing the Queen in the main base, and if he kills this, it'll be pretty nice. Goswser barely survives this little engagement, but now we see sOs, he's not fooling around. He's adding on another Stargate, he's taking his 3rd base, and he's just kind of playing this out, maybe not as a high octane of a game as if he was playing versus someone like a Startail Life, but still going through the motions of at least something that we kind of expect from him.
You can see that it's going to be a 2nd Stargate here. A lot of gateways should be queued up. And by a lot, I mean 3 or 4 more. Oftentimes used to seal in that cannon over at the 3rd, but this is a build and a variation we've seen a few times. We know that Naniwa did it on Belshir Vestige in his PVZ, and it was a hard hold against Life at that 3rd Nexus, and we can see the difference in players here. Goswser's not even going to be able to challenge that. He took too many losses of drones. He even lost a Queen. So his production's had such a hiccup that he can't afford the larva to throw Zerglings at this, because in doing so, he'd be launching into a really poor all-in. So Goswser is taking his wounds early on here. That's going to be an uncontested third Nexus for the Protoss, which is absolute bad news bears for Zerg players.
Yeah, I mean, as a Zerg player, the last thing you want to do is be on the same number of bases as a Protoss, especially one that's going for such an expensive setup as Void Rays. That economy being almost unhindered, as you said, is really going to allow them to just burst forward. We see the charge coming in, even the +1 attack for the Void Rays, producing 2 of them at a time, very expensive units. And the flying units are actually still getting full scouting information for SOS. In the whole meantime, the Oracle's able to see everything that's going on. He saw the Hydralisk Den, and he knows exactly what Goswser is up to at this point.
Yeah. I'm a little bit worried. Hydras are obviously the order de jour, or whatever. I can't even believe I tried to say that. Let's just forget that ever happened. What I'm trying to say is Hydras are what you need against that Void Ray tech, but unfortunately I feel like Goswser might be trying to do too much. We see that he's getting Roach speed. We see that he's getting Roaches as well. Yes, Roaches buffer for those Hydras fantastically well. Of course they're great against those Zealots, but what's really the big concern here is having enough anti-air. So that's why we're seeing Zerg players, instead of going for Roaches as the secondary tech option here, they rely on Zerglings, because yes, they're a lot more flimsy and soft, but with no gas expenditure at their, building them, that means that you can have that many more Hydros, which is the really important unit for dealing with this composition.
Yeah, we're seeing the +2 begin, though. He's really starting to just cultivate all of the technology that he needs. SOS, 5 additional gateways are coming in. With the Templar Archives, he can get some Archons out as well. Very great versus Zergling-based compositions. And he has just one sentry actually tucked under these Void Rays. A couple of them spread out. He uses the Revelation. He actually can see all of the Hydralisks. He knows exactly where Goswser brings his army, and if he tries to attack him, he can get into the perfect position that he needs without really too much trouble at all.
If Goswser ever stood a chance, now is it. This is going to be the softest time that SOS's army is perhaps most vulnerable, but as I say that, an Archon's being added. Zealots are going to start coming out in droves as 2 more gateways are about to finish. Goswser is trying to hit that timing right now. Only 1 cannon there. He's going to fold around there. Photon Overcharge, not a big factor right now as he does back away from it, and now he's going to challenge the natural. Goswser doing a great job maneuvering to put himself in a place where the Protoss army is kind of in a weird spot. There's not a lot of meaningful force fields there. Goswser is not really resupplying. You can see on that mini-map there's been a hiccup in production. I'm not quite sure what happened behind that, but he needs to have a constant stream of units here because, again, this is going to get worse. More Void Rays coming, more Chargelets coming. I feel like it's the Zerg army that needs to hit that hole hard now, otherwise they're going to be closed in on.
Especially playing 3-base versus 3-base. The Hydralisks are in front of the Roaches. The tanking not going to happen against these Zealots. Are there enough Hydras to kill the Void Rays? That's the real question. It's 6 Void Rays still standing. All but 3 Hydralisks are gone, and there's nothing left to actually fight this army. He didn't do economic damage to SOS, who pulled a lot of his probes away. And the Zealots, while the Roaches can kind of trade evenly versus those, there's nothing to match the air units.
Yeah, and Goswser does get to kill quite a few probes as they were pulled there because SOS is going to take no risks. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, look at that. That's 6 untouched Void Rays. I don't think a single Void Ray did actually die, which means that Goswser is going to have to reload on those Hydralisks. But again, you can see that he has the upgrades for the Roaches, but now he's not making Roaches because it has to be just Hydralisks and Lings to deal with that now 6 going on 8 and more Void Rays. Man, they hit a critical number, and it's around now when they hit this 8 Void Ray count. If you can't get it up and on them because of either force fields or charge lots, they do so much damage.
And I mean, the other thing to consider is that because Goswser's not even looking at a 4th base, this could be the final committed attack from the Millennium Zerg player. He doesn't have too many options playing this even economy. Once the storm is complete, SOS has Templar with these Void Rays. You'll never get the Hydralisks close enough to actually fight against these units without being evaporated by that area of effect damage. And the Mothership Core even coming out now. He sees everything, and Goswser's trying to bring the pressure towards his base. The Zerglings moving in. There's the Photon Overcharge. I'm not sure there's too much he can do. And there's Storm. It's done.
Yeah.
He's getting chased.
Storm is, it's not even a nail in a coffin. It's like cement, dirt, and 2 other earths, I guess, put on top of this thing. It's just slammed shut and hard. Like, how soft those Hydros are, now with Storm, not even fun. So you can see one Storm completely whiffs. So, I mean, I guess if he whiffs on all the Storms, that's where it becomes feasible. But Goswser's all in on this. He's got 3 bases. He's not making drones. This is it. It's now or never. Again, another Storm fairly dodged here, so if SOS kind of wants to gift that to him, that's nice. There's one Storm hitting the left flank, and because he has no more, it's not, I mean, it just doesn't matter. Look at this. It's a very one-sided affair.
He's going to nab 1 or 2 of the Void Rays, but the rest of the Hydras are dead once again, and this is where that 3-base all-in starts to run out of steam. We see Zerglings on the production tab that he wants to build with the upgrades that he's aimed for, with the composition that he's aimed for now. There's not too much more he can do. There's too many Archons for Zerglings to work versus this, and with that, there's nothing that can tank or provide support for the Hydralisks to actually engage head-on.
Well, I mean, the only thing missing, I guess, is Colossus. You know, basically, if SOS wants to go double robo and start making Colossus right now, he would be quadruple wrapping his body condom for safety, and I don't think he needs to do that. Not in the most conservative circles is that called upon by any man or woman. Meanwhile, in the background, we have Goswser going for a 4th base, but it's kind of like a weird, awkward afterthought. It's like, I guess I do this because so far everything else hasn't worked. Like, his anti-air is 7 Hydralisks.
Well, you know what? At the very least, Goswser, no matter which way this series turns out, he's going to learn something. So I think trying to play around as much as possible, not really a bad idea. Just got to get a feel of maybe where he could try to attack SOS for the second game. See where this strategy might be vulnerable if he makes a couple of fine-tuned adjustments. But he still has a maxed out force. The tech is certainly in favor of SOS. This is a super gas-charged army that he has. A lot of these units for Goswser it costs a lot more minerals than the gas. And Infestation Pit's coming in, but I don't think this is a fight he can win with just pure Roach Hydra. Another problem is that units like Vipers, Hive Tech, aren't too useful. Void Rays and Archons are good versus any type of tier 3 that the Zerg player can bring. And of course, all it will take is a couple feedbacks for Vipers to be completely nullified as well.
And here we go with that kind of, again, SOS is not really sure what's going on out there. He's never had a lot of sentries in this army composition, so there's a bit of a difference there. With Naniwa, we'll see as many as like 10 or 11 sentries to aid those Void Rays. This time around, just the 1, so he's not able to use hallucinations to really pick up on what's going on out there. So as a result, he's got these Phoenix, and to be honest, with Pathogen Glands coming in here, a Roach Hydra army out in the middle of the map, that could be one of the ways that SOS somehow hands us over. Now, I know it's a long shot, but I'm going to tell you, these Phoenix are a complete waste. There's 11 of them. Now, with 2 more coming out, you absolutely don't want them. They're just for Phoenix, or excuse me, for Mutas. And I'm going to tell you, I feel like, yes, I understand SOS is really afraid of a big Mula switch, but 13 Phoenix blind, that's a mistake.
I feel like he's basically just he's kind of saying,
not a mistake though.
Yeah, he's saying that there's probably the only way that he thinks he could lose this game, because even with a lot of army supply being invested in Phoenix, he has so much actual fighting power versus Roach Hydra. It doesn't matter. The Zealots pick off the Infestation Pit. That means no Hive. 6 Infestors will come out. He was able to complete Pathogen Glands, so this is it. Roach Hydra Infestor. He is locked in on this almost basically for life. He has just this Hydralisk in his lair. There's no way to move into any other kind of tech. He lost the 4th base, lost the natural as well, and with that, his Roach Horn. So the tanky units are also not going to be another factor in this game.
Nathanius, I feel so bad because this Zealot harass is awesome from SOS and all. I mean, he poked at the left side, and then you see him shave off Zealots from his main army and just throw them up into the natural, but no way, no how should he ever have done as much damage as he did. You just described it beautifully, but Goswser's now again in an all-in situation, and I gotta tell you, Goswser's army, as long as he doesn't get absolutely feedbacked and stormed to ever-living hell, he's got the better army right now. He really, really does. But with this Zealot harass in the background chopping down his remaining hatcheries, it doesn't matter, I feel. I feel like SOS would have to fail critically to lose this game.
Yeah, especially since he has the 4th base, and Goswser's trying to bait out this attack. The double time warp use, the feedbacks from above, and the storms on these slow-moving Hydralisks. Not going to be enough. The army that's spread off to the south side, Zealot Warpin coming in to deal with this, and he's actually going to try to get the full concave. The Phoenix coming in is going to try to pick up every single unit. There are the Fungals, but SOS just has so much. Feedbacks, rest of the Infestors, a couple beach balls come out, but that's not enough. GG. SOS takes game number 1 over the American Zerg.
And in the background, he was down to just his 1 base, and that's... We only say that because it was pre-warp, and the Warp Prism was moving, as you pointed in, and it was just 10 Zealots away from probably eliminating Goswser. He could have actually killed all of his buildings and won the game that way. But again, if you go back in time, and Goswser has some kind of active overlords, or he spots those Zealots, you know, trying to counterflank, and he spots the pylon out in the middle of the map, He's got his 4th base up and going. He's mowing down Zealots that are trying to counterattack. Then he moves into that big fight and he's resupplying. This could have been, in a weird way, a very different game. I still think SOS is obviously heavily favored, but there's a chance in that scenario. Unfortunately, he was kind of falling apart in the late part, though. Yeah,
it's kind of interesting because we discussed this as he brought the first really big push. Looked like if he caught SOS out of position, he could have made something happen there. But Void Rays are very tanky units. They actually have a lot more hit points than it would seem for being those air units, those precision surgical strike type units. And I honestly feel like Goswser, he just wanted to just feel around and get a look at this.
Did you say Void Rays are tanking units?
I said they have a lot of hit points. They do.
Like relative to a Zergling, I guess?
I'm just saying the Hydras don't kill them as fast as the Void Rays seem to kill them. That's all.
I like you, Nathanius. I like you a lot. You're a brave man.
Hey.
Protoss players don't get mad about a lot of things. Nah. We just kind of win right now, but... Void Rays are tanky units?
It's a tank E, not tank-ing, but...
I know, tanky. That's what I said.
They do have a lot of hit points. I'm just saying. Void Rays are strong units, okay? It's difficult to kill them with that few Hydralisks is the point that I'm trying to make. He wasn't able to get the positioning, and also because the Hydras were in front of the Roaches, there was barely any opportunity to get the damage in.
I agree. Space Marines do need a buff.
Amen. But we're getting ready to go into map number 2. Looks like it's going to be Derelict Watcher, a map that, you know, technically should favor Goswser in this matchup.
Favors Zerg, yes. SOS, he was kind of all over the board in that last game. I mean, he opened up with the Oracle, it did a lot of damage. It was, I mean, again, we kind of go to the beginning of this game. A Zealot was getting hits on the Queen. The Oracle shows up. I mean, just, it was a rough start to the game for Goswser, so I hope. And he's been on some of these big stages. Goswser is, by the way, for people that may have forgotten, he was one of the original non-Koreans to beat a player like Polt at MLG. He did an amazing job.
Well, we're getting ready to go into this game. It's Derelict Watcher, game number 2, in spawning in the southwest position as the red Zerg player, sitting in his booth with perhaps the most apathetic face we've ever seen in StarCraft, more than a Korean. It is Goswser. No emotion down 0-1.
You have to have no emotion. You know, I hope he resets.
Yeah?
I hope he doesn't tilt, but as I say that, he's not making a whole lot inside his base. No. Not a whole lot.
In the northeast, we have the blue Protoss from Team Wunjin Stars. It is SOS.
Oh. Oh my god. All right. I saw that pylon go down, and I was like, oh no, Goswser's about to have the worst stage match of his life. But he could get a pretty lucky draw here. I think this might be a blind Nexus first. In which case, this will be the worst game played at Dreamhack, but a white dude will beat a Korean on stage.
Isn't that what we all want to see? He's getting the spawning pool's coming closer. Now, so this is the thing. I love to make jokes about this. To pull the drones or not to pull the drones. That is the question, Mr. Robinson.
It's forged. Okay. Interesting question. I think no. You know, with this wider ramp, he actually. This is not the end of the world. Okay, he's not going to block off this ramp. He can't. He needs to put a pylon in his main mineral line, actually, because while he could put a cannon at the natural, the Zerglings can run around it. They'll take a few hits. But a good 5 Zerglings, maybe 4, will make its way into the main, and that could be, you know, game-changing. It could be where the lead comes from.
Well, the probe sees these Zerglings evacuating the main of the Millennium. Zerg player immediately comes down. Cannon actually by the ramp, and his second one out towards the front.
Or he could do that.
Is he? Oh, this is a very wow. That's one way of getting a fast wall up.
God, you are so smart. This is ridiculous. I love this.
I wonder how many times this has to happen to you for you to figure out the perfect way. Like, that first pylon, if he built the forge on the other side, could have made it a lot weird. He's bringing his own probes down. SOS, it looks like he's feeling pretty confident against this, it seems.
He's going to hold.
He bring all of his probes?
Can't run around it.
He left, like, did he leave any? Solid defense.
Really?
And Ghosties are not able to breach the main base.
He is so smart. Now, what Goswser can do, by the way, is the Nexus is not protected. if there were a Nexus from SOS, the Zerglings could get around the side and kill it. And SOS knows that. So he's building a gateway. I mean, SOS is in a world of trouble right now. Yes, he holds off this doing game-ending damage, but there's a hatch down. Drones are going to get produced at this point in time, and with just this naked gateway and double gas behind this, SOS is doing... Well, I mean, a lot of people recognize this. This is a gold build order at this point in time. They're like, well, I know that one. Yes, of course, you cannon rush the base of your ramp, you go up to Cybernetics Core, then you make those flying things. It's a beautiful build. And
you know, if he goes Void Rays as well, that pretty much is the epitome of a team game build at that point. The one base double cannon Void Ray rush.
If SOS starts calling Goswser names, this will be a gold build order. Like, that will be straight out of the playbook. But as you can see, and Goswser knows this. He's looking at it, says, okay, you're not expanding. I'm okay. You look at the harvester count. Still a lot more probes versus drones, so Goswser's not out of the woods just yet. But SOS is, I mean, does he go into the tomfoolery, or does he just expand after he can safely do that with a Zealot or two out?
I guess it's kind of weird to tell. My question for you, if Goswser could get to like any one unit in the game within the next couple minutes, what do you think he would do as compared to whatever SOS has planned? Because this game has already gone so weird. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering what Goswser has planned, because he's obviously not just given up. He hasn't thrown the towel, and he has his natural. Where do you go from here?
Well, the gas is interesting. It has me wondering if he thought, nope, there it is. He's going to go with the Roach Warren. I was going to say, I wondered if he was like anticipating, you know, a 4-gate or something crazy like that from SOS, where he would need to have speed and perhaps roaches of his own. But in this case, I guess he's gonna try a secondary all-in, because that's what that Roach Warren says. But I gotta tell you, it ain't gonna work. This Stargate means that there should be an Oracle for harass. If not that, then straight Void Ray, and Void Ray will shut down any kind of aggression at this stage.
Yeah, legend has it Void Rays are pretty good versus Roaches, but the Zerglings try to catch some of these units, grabs the Zealot, going for the Stalker, no luck just yet, and SOS just kind of dancing around, picking off a few links here and there. Nothing super crazy. That Nexus is coming close, and as you called it, the Oracle is on the way for SOS. Yeah. I would be shocked if he did anything other than go for Void Rays following this. And with 6 Roaches on the way and 2 Photon Cannons already in place for SOS, this can be a really difficult push to make work for Goswser.
And Goswser has a total of 19 drones on minerals between the 2 mineral fields. He's double gassing it because he wants to just make a sustained push. And he's going to go for the sneaky win. And you know, as these Roaches embark on their journey, I give them my best. I really do, because I feel like at the beginning it was looking kind of good for Goswser, but then this brilliant hold by SOS, very patient, very conservative play following it up. This Oracle is going to just absolutely ransack the mineral line. And with a second Oracle coming out, there is a chance, but now, I mean, there's 2 cannons and 2 stalkers. That's going to be really tough on these Roaches.
And the Oracle is here as the units leave. Just 1 Queen, not enough to stop it from going ham in the mineral line. He's picked off all but 1 drone in the natural expansion. 16 Zerglings is the follow-up. Yeah. And what does he have to defend? He actually did not immediately go for that Void Ray. He went straight into the robotics facility, so he cancels that. The Roaches and Zerglings are in the mineral line, and if he can somehow kill this off and stop this Stargate from building that Void Ray, then maybe there's some like weird like sports movie type comeback towards the end of this. But another pylon being trying to use to block this off. That Void Ray is still coming in, almost halfway done. More Zerglings approach, but that and 2 Oracles, that's it. He's out of units here inside of SOS's base.
Yeah, this is it's not close. Zerglings are denied entry. Goswser taps out. That's it. SOS wins.
SOS will advance on now. We do. That does mean Goswser's tournament life has come to an end, but gave his best, I guess. whatever you could call it. It was a tough series.
I just like the butt there.
Well.
This will be a rebuilding phase. You know, this is a tough loss to take on this stage. I mean, keep in mind, guys, SOS. Literally, like 2 weeks ago, people were calling him the best player on the planet. So, actually, I'm in a really. I got to be honest with you. I know Goswser's pain. I've been in that spot. So keep your head up, Goswser. There's a lot of practice ahead of you, and there's better results ahead of you as well. But for now, let's kick it over to Smix, who's just about now to Smix. Yes.
Thank you very much, In Control. Congratulations, SOS, on your 2-0 victory against Goswser. The entire time, it just seemed that he was completely under control, and I just got to ask him, did he go into this match feeling comfortable because it was a foreign player, or if he was just comfortable to begin with based on other things? 이제 이 경기 시작하기 전에 이제 해외 선수였잖아요. 그래서 그것 때문에 약간 더 편한 마음으로 가지고 게임을 하셨나요?
오늘 경기가 루저 브라켓은 오늘밖에 다 내일이기 때문에 한 경기밖에 없어가지고 그냥 편하게 게임했던 것 같아요.
He says, because of the way the losers bracket works, I knew that I only had to play this game today, and that's why I think that I was able to play so comfortably, because I knew that this was the only game that I had to look forward to. I actually want to see how he feels about foreigner players in general, because we do have some foreign players that he's kind of come across. He played with Scarlet at the Red Bull Battlegrounds, and Nani was here doing really well as well. So I'm curious to see what his opinions of them are. 이제 그 해외 선수들 고수유서 말고도 또 다른 선수들도 잘하는 선수들 있잖아요. 뭐 스칼렛 선수도 있고 이제 나니와 선수도 있고 그 선수들에 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요?
스칼렛 선수는 제가 게임 해봤잖아요. 해보니까 생각보다 잘하시더라고요. 이제 스칼렛 선수도 인정해줘야 될 것 같고, 그리고 나니아 선수는 원래 잘했기 때문에 거의 한국인 웬만한 토스보다 잘한다고 생각하고 있어요.
Wow, so he says for Scarlet, I did play against her personally at Rebel Battlegrounds, so I think I definitely got to experience her skill firsthand, and I definitely have to say I have to acknowledge her skill, and I do respect her a lot as a player. And as for Naniwa, I think that it's pretty much established now that I personally think that he's even better than a lot of Korean Protoss players in Korea, and so high praise is coming from SOS over here for Naniwa, and I'm sure Naniwa would be very pleased to hear that, because I know that he is a huge fan of SOS. Now, next, SOS will be playing Patience. Curious to see how he feels about that. It will be a PvP. 이제 다음 상대는 이제 조지현 선수와 하게 될 건데 토스전이잖아요. 그래서 자신 있으세요?
자신 있다기보다는 내일부터 경기를 계속 해야 되니까 최대한 즐기려고 하고 있어요.
Well, he says more than confidence or anything like that in terms of going into that matchup. I know that starting from tomorrow, I'll have a lot of games. So I'm just going to go into tomorrow with the mindset of let's just have fun. So congratulations, SOS, again on your victory over Goswser. Best of luck. Guys, when we come back after this short break, we'll have Polt versus Hyun. So stay tuned.